Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. Well, hello there, positive heads. Welcome back to another episode. It is a Friday here as I record. Grateful as always to be with you. Today I am going to wax poetic about something that, just something that's been bubbling up for me here recently, which is spending more time going within and focusing on, just that inner world. Obviously we all know and talk about the importance of meditation and visualization and all those things. But for me, as someone who's, I've talked about this before, as such a doer, a lot of times I can find myself going long periods of time without meditation or without visualization or without those sorts of things. And I actually had a conversation, a soul share interview that is, as of this recording, hasn't come out yet. I recorded it a few days ago and it'll come out in a month or something like that. But the person was talking about basically connecting. She's a channel. And a very insightful channel. It was a great episode. Ended up going fairly long because I wanted to keep going. But what was coming through to me was the importance of sitting down and spending at least 12 minutes a day meditating to unfold my highest potential and timeline and to really connect with my guides and all that sort of thing. And I've been hearing this sort of message from various intuitives and people over years. I mean, many times it's like that comes up over and over and over again. How important. I remember one intuitive friend telling me years ago that my guides and ancestors were there in that moment arguing about convincing me to meditate. And one of them was like, he's not going to spend the time. And the other one was like, no, tell him at least 10 minutes. And the other was like, no, that's too long. 5, and she said literally they were having a dialogue that, trying to figure out what I would be willing to do. And the truth is at that time I was more like, I don't need it, or it's just not a priority. And after this conversation, even just a few days ago, I think timing is everything, right? And it just felt like, I fully need to and intend to commit even more time to visualization and meditation and going within so that I am pleased with what's happening without on the external, right? And this is something for me. And I actually started using Insight Timer to track one of my roomies here at the Mystic Manor. He's almost, I forget, like 150 days into consecutive meditation. And, Insight Timer will track it, how many days consecutive you are, which, of course, gamifying anything like that, it gives you that feeling of accomplishment. You get to see your results stacking. So, I'm 3 consecutive days in since that conversation. And, like I said, I've always meditated and done visualization sporadically and sometimes more consistently than others. And I've talked about times in the past when I'm, spending time on a visualization practice, like the Silva method, something I've been doing sporadically for a while. But I really liked what this woman had to share with me, particularly on this episode, was 12 minutes is what I need. to commit 12 minutes a day and setting that intention to as an opportunity for healing to come through, for not chatter, connection, talking to spirits, any silence, not even in her recommendation or the beings coming through her. She referred to as the teachers, saying, silence, not even music, just, and there's some technique in there. You'll hear the episode when it comes out in a few weeks, but I really liked the instruction and the simplicity of it. And just the structure. It's like, who can't commit, in this case, 12 minutes, or maybe for you, it's 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever. But just, I think the consistency and then growing from there is really the trick. I think sometimes people think they got to dive in the deep in the pool and they got to be 2 hours not moving their legs, even though they've fallen asleep, or else they're not a successful meditator. And, it's just not the case. It's like just the act of going there and spending the time and energy saying, I care enough about cultivating my internal state and dealing with the quantum field, tapping into the quantum field, that I'm willing to make the time. And what I find is every time I do it, it feels so good anyway. And especially if you keep it, you're sort of a high energy, maybe tend to be restless person. A few minutes is nothing, right? And so, I just wanted to share that and encourage those of you as we round the corner of the 12th month in the year and almost halfway through the 12th month and coming into 2024, I am committed to, in the case, as you'll hear in that episode, this forthcoming Soul Share episode, her name is Carol. She said, for me, 8 months of doing it solid would be life-changing, basically. So who wants to commit and use Insight Timer and you don't have to, but I think that's what I'm doing. And just making the time so that I'm more pleased with my neurochemistry and the magic of the quantum field of what I'm tapping into, giving my guides the opportunity to work energetically on me and help me elevate my vibration, doing less physically to create more, right? Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking the Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome Ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic. And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And of course, the coffee alternative Ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving. And it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own, as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram. Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting and someone will get back to you. And this also makes me think of a talk I saw recently, a clip on social media or something with Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Many of you know. If not, definitely check him out. He was talking about, he always talks about the brain and neurology and how to neurons that fire together, wire together, how we create new neural pathways. If you have a thought of, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm poor, I'm poor, I'm poor, whatever it is, you've literally created a trail where we can see the connection of neurons, as a pathway, almost like as you're walking the same path through the woods, it makes a path ultimately. But if you change that thought, you'll see these connections detach and new pathways created. Yeah, what a cool visualization, right? To think about it the same way. We all seen the well-worn path and through the forest, and it's the same things kind of happening in your brain as you create new experiences and new thoughts. And so what he was talking about in this clip, the particular clip I'm thinking of, he was talking about the act of closing your eyes and rehearsing what you're going to do, right? And thinking, like, really tapping into it's a way to step into a timeless state and, step into a timeline where a particular thing is already happened and feeling what that feels like. It's like my grandfather and father both were like skeet shooting champions. If you're not familiar with skeet, it's like little clay discs that shoot out of a house, and they're kind of like supposed to mimic birds. And in the South, it's popular, or it was then. This is many years ago. But my father and grandfather both were like state champions in Virginia, many moons ago. And he wasn't a spiritual guy at all, my grandfather, and yet he would use this technique of rehearsing what's going to happen. He would see the clay pigeons blowing up in his mind before it happened, and then catch up to that physically. And we know now with the work of people like Dr. Joe Dispenza that by doing that, by closing your eyes and rehearsing what you're going to do, you install neurological hardware. It changes your neurology because the brain doesn't know the difference between it actually happening and you imagining it happening. So, we know now that you can imagine working out and your biceps grow, right? If you're doing curls in your head. So why aren't we using this power more, the tools at your disposal? A lot of times you feel helpless or stuck in a rut at your job or whatever, and I don't see a way out. The way out is within, tapping into using this inner world, this powerful imagination that's not just make-believe. It's literally changing the neurological hardware, changes in your neurology. And what he was talking about in that clip is now your brain's not just being utilized as a way to process things and as a record of the past. You're literally creating a map to the future. You're literally making it so your brain is familiar with that experience prior to it happening. So you naturally catch up to it and step into that timeline, and it feels familiar when you get there. And you basically keep doing this. You keep installing new hardware because it's actually changing your hardware of your brain, the neurology, the physical brain, which ultimately becomes your new software, your new operating system. And it's not magic. You installed the circuitry. You took the time to go and do the work, on your computer, your biological computer. And this is more important than he was talking in this clip about. This is way more important than talking about the past or watching TV or the news or gossiping. It's like, commit to this. Shut the door, turn off, the lights, turn off your phone, and start working within. Do the work and see the results that it gets. And this is something that, we all do it day to day, right? When we're thinking any thoughts, but just really for me, more laser-like focus on this part of my path and my potential, it feels essential. It feels front center. It feels paramount. It feels necessary for me to progress at a quicker pace, which I've definitely felt some stagnation in some ways in the last year or two. And, this is something that, is unacceptable because it's not necessary. And it takes more commitment and more, the more you invest, you always get out what you put in, right? So by investing time and energy, you're going to get that back out in the form based off of the intention of what you set out with. So I'm investing time and energy into the news or a TV show, versus upgrading my operating system and wiring my neurology. There's a big difference. And what did I put out is going to reflect, be reflected in what comes back out. Whatever I put in is going to, the reflection is going to always be there. So start putting more powerful, using your time more wisely and effectively. And by the way, this is very gratifying. It feels, when you're tapping into and rehearsing what you want, it feels very rewarding and fulfilling. That we all know, if you're fantasizing about something that you like, it feels good, right? So why not get more, more skilled and more committed and more laser focused as we move into 2024, which is an 8-year, if you add it up, which is the year of abundance, right? 8 is the abundance number. So I'm all for more of that in 2024. I imagine you are too. And yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it for today. I do have a song to leave you with. This is an artist I stumbled across recently that I really like, Vertigo, spelled G-E-U-X, as opposed to G-O on the end of that, Vertigo. And the song is called Chapters. Hope you enjoy. Till next time, journey well.